Before signing any tenancy agreement, you need to make sure your property is up to scratch. So this week, our industry expert is Claire from Daisylets, and she's going to be telling us everything to look out for when looking at a property for the first time and during your tenancy agreement.
Hi Claire, thanks for chatting to us today.
Thanks for having
So
me.
Claire, sometimes when somebody views a property for the first time, perhaps they overlook some of the more important things. So what should a prospective tenant look at and address when they first view that property?
I think it's really important for tenants to make sure they know exactly what's in the property at the beginning of the tenancy. So if there's a piece of equipment, especially in the kitchen, that they really need, that they should be aware that it's definitely there. So for example, a dishwasher. Not every property has a dishwasher and a washer dryer, for example.
So it could be that things they see when they first view, when a property's already tenanted, they might belong to that tenant.
Absolutely, yeah. They can't assume that what they're seeing in front of them is actually what comes with the tenancy. And often a tenant might actually have their own fridge freezer and be storing the landlord's in a shed, for example. So they need to check it's actually the real one.
Yeah.
And will this all be written on an inventory?
It should be, yeah. It's really important to get an inventory and schedule of condition. It's not law, but it is definitely advisable to get one for the deposit schemes these days.
So schedule of conditions, picking up on that, you mean like pictures and things like that of how the property was left?
There'll be photographs. It's generally about 30 pages long actually, so it's very detailed, and it'll pick up on anything like ring marks from mugs, down to if it's a freshly sanded and oiled worktop.
So talking of conditions, we noticed in this kitchen there was some staining around the kitchen sink, perhaps mould. Would that have been something that would show up in the inventory? Or?
It would definitely if it was there at the beginning of the tenancy. So the tenants need to make sure that they're taking care of their worktops throughout the tenancy too, and reporting any issues with those. So I noticed in this property that there was a dripping tap, which has caused a big issue around the sink with mould. And that could have been prevented if they'd reported it to their landlord and got it fixed. So now, unfortunately, that tenant probably will be having money deducted from their deposit.
Is it worth maybe having sort of managers who will come in and look around the property?
I would definitely advise tenants to go for a managed property. There are very decent landlords out there that will do regular inspections too, and it's important to allow your landlord to do those inspections for these very reasons, because things that you might not see or feel that are important are actually very important for the upkeep of the property, and therefore your deposit at the end if you haven't reported things.
So during the tenancy, what else can tenants do to ensure they maintain the property and look after it well?
Things like keeping it clean is very important, and ventilation, but also regular hoovering, for example, to eradicate carpet moths, which is a big problem in South London at the moment. So moving the furniture regularly and hoovering under them, blanket boxes at the end of the beds and things like that.
Thank you, Claire.
Thank you, Claire. We asked our viewers at thetenantsvoice.co.uk to send in some questions for our industry expert.
So the first question is from Clara, and she said, I received a notice requiring possession. The estate agent has done this checkout inspection and they are asking me to pay for it. So does she have to?
So tenants need to be really clear from the beginning, when they see the agent or the landlord at the beginning of the tenancy before they sign the contract, who's paying for what, because each agency will do different things. So some will charge the landlord for both the check-in and the check-out, and vice versa, the tenant could end up paying both. But usually they split it, but you need to make sure who's doing which one.
So it's all in the contract, so make sure you check your contract.
It may be in the contract, or it may just be in the terms and conditions you sign at the beginning, or nowadays every agent has to display a list of their fees now in their office, so it's very clear for people now.
OK, now Dave asks, our letting agent landlord has requested 6 months rent in advance on a 6-month tenancy agreement, as well as a guarantor. Is this possible, as the rent would cover the entire period of the tenancy? Can I request the fee for a guarantor credit check be returned by the letting agent?
So it's probably not as straightforward as it seems here initially. So even though the tenancy is for 6 months, it could be that it will roll on to a periodic contract. Quite often tenancy agreements can be for 12 months with a 6-month break, but even if they're just for 6 months, it's usual that tenants will stay beyond that time. So the agent's just trying to cover their back and the landlord's back so that they've got the rent ongoing for the rest of the tenancy. So unfortunately, yes, they probably do have to pay the fee for the guarantor.
Yeah.
So Kathy asks, hi, my landlord has been saying hurtful things about me to my other housemates and has been treating me unfairly. My landlord told my housemate that if I move out, he will decrease the rent for everyone. The thing is, I did nothing to him and my housemate is the one that throws all the parties, but my landlord treats him way better than me. I just don't know what to do.
I would encourage Kathy here to sit down and have a meeting with her landlord, maybe informally, and have a chat through things, because I suspect there's more to this than meets the eye. She's only got her flatmate's word for what the landlord said to her or about her in this instance. So I would encourage them all to sit down over a cup of tea and try and work things out.
Communication's key, isn't it? So the last question, Kai asks, does my landlord letting agent have the right to show prospective tenants around my home before I move out?
So within the last 48 hours, it's usually in your contract that tenants need to give access to the landlords to show prospective tenants around. You can be amenable to this if you like and give them less time, or time slots on a Saturday if you don't want to be disturbed all day within a couple of hours. But yes, generally they do have the right to show tenants around.
Thank you for all that advice, Claire. Be sure to visit thetenantsvoice.co.uk to put your questions to our industry experts.